See the weight you carry, it's written in your eyes. The kind of ache that takes up every corner of your mind. You're sitting in the silence, drowning in the doubt. I've been sitting there before, I know there's a way out. The world feels like it's caving in. Those dark thoughts, don't let them win. Just stay. Just stay. It's almost more than you can take. Please just stay. I swear the light will find you someday, and you'll be glad you stayed. So just stay.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another week of Just Stay. We have some really cool things coming up this next month. And to share some of that information and share the why behind what we're doing, we have Dr. Destin, Thane, and Nathan Furman from Beacon Integrative here in Rexburg. And I have gone to their clinic since my son was a newborn, and he's almost 15. They have helped me in more ways than one, and I really appreciate their approach to anything medical. It's helpful, and I feel like they don't just treat the symptoms. They find the cause and help me feel better. And this last, would you guys say a year or two that you've implemented?
Yep, about 2 years.
Okay, so about 2 years ago, they implemented East Idaho Mental Health into their clinic, and we're really excited to talk to them about that. So,
just to start off, we would love to hear how you got to, how you got to a place where you're a medical clinic, but then you also have East Idaho Mental Health, like, connected, right? Or are you guys the same?
So it's a different entity it's just a branch off of what we do. Yeah.
Could you explain how you came to be?
Absolutely. Go ahead if you want to go first.
Okay,
we both have a different perspective, so we'll just wrap up.
Me and Destin have been in business for probably around a little over 20 years. Destin, actually, we had some similar classes together at college, and he asked me if I was interested in natural remedies and stuff. And I thought I was, because I had taken vitamin C. And to me, that was what a natural remedy was vitamin C. And so he approached me and we started working together, and I fell in love with being able to treat people in a natural way that didn't have all of the side effects that some of the medications and things carry today. And so we've been working together ever since. And as we look at the body, we look at it a little different. We look at the emotional, the spiritual, the mental, the physical, all aspects of the body. And as we were growing our practice, we noticed that the mental and emotional part is what tends to be left out of a lot of medical facilities. And so we would try to bring different therapies into the office that allowed some of that emotional and mental release. And we would notice that as we did that, more and more people would get stronger results, faster results, better results, if we focused on the emotional and mental health of people with the physical ailments that were going on as well.
Yeah, just what he said. We found that it's completely, you cannot separate it if you want someone to be well. And I think we knew that from the beginning, but as the world's changed, the world's shifted, we've seen it more and more. Just one of the things that really stood out to me all those years is we would get people with chronic illness and they were sick. They were sick in every way that you can be sick. But it seemed like just the validating that they felt how they felt and connecting with them in that emotional way seemed to be probably more beneficial than some of the physical things that we were able to do for them. As we witnessed this and saw it grow more and more, one of the things that it really stood out to me is when we did what we would call clinic weeks, where people would fly in from different places. We would keep them here at the clinic for about a week, and we would treat them in every way that you can treat someone. We would do diagnostics. We would do all sorts of IV type treatments. And with that, we added a lot of emotional release. And to see the difference in people when we had the emotional release therapies going on, as opposed to just the physical, it was night and day and undeniable. Something that stood out to me, I remember one of the weeks, some of the individuals that did the procedures of emotional release were not able to be at those specific clinic week. I remember at the end of that clinic week, just really feeling like we did not get the people to the point that we normally did. And the only thing that was missing was that emotional release and that connection. And I think that was the time that it really stood out to me that we've got to make this more of an emphasis, something that's dealt with all the time. You cannot have physical health without having mental or emotional health. And so as these experiences developed over time, that's kind of when we knew we needed to do something more just in society to get the stigma gone, just to make people realize that they have to address their mental health if they want to ever be physically well. And so it kind of branched off of that. One thing led to another, and that's kind of how we got there in a nutshell. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Do you guys still do the hand thing?
Yeah. Yep. The hand scan is what people call it.
The hand scan, yes. And I've done that with you guys before. And I've seen a couple other of your service providers, but I've really been wondering if you could explain to our listeners what the hand scan thing is and what it leads to. And then also, if from that type of testing, can you see mental health? Can you see through your scans? Can you see those things being related on paper?
Good questions. Do you want to take it first?
So the LSA body scan is called for limbic stress assessment. And what it is, it's a biofeedback system. A lot of people are more familiar with the term biofeedback, but it's using an energy source and they're sending a frequency into the body. And I kind of explain it to my clients as this electrical current's running into the body and it comes in contact with something and it lets out a frequency. Everything, and this is physics, everything has a frequency to it. It doesn't matter what it is, but that frequency is what we're trying to find in the body. And the frequency can be viruses, bacteria, hormones, parasites. It can deal with neurotransmitters, which would be like a lot of people are familiar with like serotonin, dopamine, tryptophan, melatonin, different chemicals like that are in the body. And so that's what we're going through. And we're trying to find different readings and different levels of as we're running the scan.
Yeah, so it's a tool that allows us kind of to look past blood work. We get such a huge client base that comes in. And there's an emotional health component to this as well because they feel crazy. That's what they always say because they know they don't feel well, but no one can show them in blood work why they don't feel well. There's always a reason. And a lot of these people, depression, anxiety, all that is extremely real, but there's so much of it too that's a symptom, not necessarily a cause. So a lot of these people are getting diagnosed with depression, anxiety. As we get a little deeper, we do find absolutely they have depression, absolutely they have anxiety, but they also feel like crap. There's another component typically. It's never just one faceted. And you can't label it in any way because I do believe that there are some people who just deal with anxiety and just deal with depression, but so often it's so connected in so many different ways. So as far as seeing it on the scan, absolutely. As far as just neurotransmitters, as well as it's kind of hard to explain it, but the energy frequencies pick up a lower vibration. It just shows that things aren't right in that way. So many people, though, just the validation and the connection, just to say to them, I see that you don't feel well. Can you tell me about that? They want to talk about it. They want to connect with others in that way. That test allows us to get to that point where they feel the validation, I guess, so that they can open up. So it does give us a huge tool belt, I guess you can say, of where to start. But absolutely, we can see things a little deeper, which are hard to explain without actually sitting down and showing you numbers. But it just shows us that the life force, the vibration is not where it needs to be. And more times than not, it will pick up. And people seem to be quite open about talking about it when they see that you can see it, and they're not crazy, is what they always say. Like they for the first time don't feel crazy because you're validating that they do have an issue. But yeah.
You would say that that's a diagnosis tool?
Yeah, I mean, medically,
Is that
they
how
can't
you would
call it
describe it?
diagnostics, but at the same point, like, it gives us a direction to go in. So the FDA won't call it diagnosis, but to us, it gives us a good starting point. So I'll call it a diagnostic tool, though we don't actually diagnose, if that makes sense. But
Okay.
yeah.
And then treatment in your facility looks a lot different than anything else I've experienced as well. Would
Right.
you explain to our listeners what your treatment plan looks like after
bet. So
that?
there's different providers that do things in different ways, but a lot of times if we can start with that scan and it gives us an idea of a layer-based approach, I guess you can say, we know which thing to tackle and in what order. So there's so many different things that we can offer. There's colon hydrotherapy, there's infrared saunas, but when we do that scan, it kind of maps it out. What can the body handle and in what order can it handle it? And so it's all interconnected. And I realize I'm jumping off topic, but something that comes to mind, I remember the colon hydrotherapy thing and the emotional release. We found Nathan was really, really good at scheduling people in a specific order when they come to do procedures. But we learned very early on that if we can send someone to do emotional release, then we can send them, this sounds kind of crazy, but we could send them into like colon hydrotherapy. They're going to get a 10 times better release through the detox of the colon if they're also letting go of emotion at the same time. So as far as explaining what you said is a protocol, it's not the same for everybody. It just depends on what's going on with them and in what order their body will allow us to do things. And so you might have more to add to that.
One of the things that we stick with more of the natural supplementation and things like that. We have vitamins, minerals, herbs, glandulars, homeopathics, enzymes. And when we're running the scan, we want to base things in a more natural, holistic way. And so if I have a client that comes in and they're dealing with, let's say, a headache, and when I'm reading the scan, I can sit there and be like, okay, it's showing that there's some minerals deficient, and the minerals could be one thing, but like Destin said, it's usually not just happening because of one mineral deficiency. There's a variety of things or a buildup of things that are causing a person to feel this way. And over time, because let's face it, and how many people go in when they first feel sick? They don't, right? Exactly. They don't. So they wait. Sometimes they've even waited like 10 years. They're like, I've been feeling sick for 10 years before I got this checked out or before I came in to get some help and stuff. And so that compounds the issue. And so like Destin was saying, we have to go through and you kind of take a layer off at a time. Where are they starting? Let's say if someone has a digestive issue, but right now the worst problem is a headache. And they're like, I can't sleep. I can't do all of these things because of the headache. That doesn't mean I'm going to be able to go in and help the headache at first. Because if their body isn't processing and breaking down the nutrients that it needs through the digestive tract, me giving them a pill is going to do absolutely nothing for them other than they're going to be wasting their money on a pill that we first have to fix the digestive tract in order for them to be able to absorb and to get the nutrients from. And so the scan does help us with that layer system. And most of the times we don't have to wait too long, but sometimes we have to peel those layers back until we get to that, until their body's able to handle that core issue. But again, people, and I want to bring up the emotional part of it and the more of that mental health part of it. A lot of times people, they can get stuck in a cycle where for the last 10 years, they've been told, you're completely fine. You're completely fine. It's in your head. You're depressed. You're depressed. You're depressed. You will become depressed if you hear that too many times. That becomes your reality. And so when we would do clinic week or if we have someone come in for some of the other therapies, we usually try to get them at a place where they feel emotionally and mentally ready to get better. If they don't, they're going to fall back into that cycle and they're going to go back into the depression, or they're going to go back into that state of nothing's helping, because their mindset has been changed that nothing can help. And so we try to focus on the person again as a whole. And part of that whole is their emotional side or their mental side, as well as that physical side. And so we look at the body and we try to judge where they're going to be able to be helped and supported. And then we'll get them to that, I'm going to say that trigger, if you will. We'll get them to that vitamin that will then help take away the headache. And we can compound different things. We're not only looking at one part of the human and saying like, okay, the human body, and saying, okay, you have a headache. That's the only thing. You have a headache. You have digestive problems. You're dealing with depression. You're all of these things. We do look at it as a whole, but we have to go in the right order. And that right order usually compounds on each other and speeds up the healing process as well. And so it's pretty cool.
It is an example that I'm thinking of. We believe very much in the energetic body, and how if we listen to our inner self or those energies, it really does make a difference to communicate that order. So an example that I think of, when we were very new to practicing with the hand scan specifically, I remember a specific individual that came in, and she had a fungal rash from head to toe, open wound. It was awful, and I felt bad for her. It almost looked like leprosy, and she had tried everything. Nothing was working. I have a lot of faith in that type of testing, so I was very confident that we could do the hand scan or the screening and figure out what to do and in what order to do it. So we did the screening, and I was very surprised it didn't show up at all. It showed nothing to do with her skin. The only thing that came up was a specific reading on her kidneys, but she had no symptoms of anything kidney related. So I was very confused. She was confused. She agreed to work on her kidneys because we didn't know what else to do at that time. So we sent her away working on a kidney protocol to get the kidneys cleaned up. She came back in for a follow-up appointment after she had done that, and the skin had not improved. It was just as bad. She was frustrated. I didn't blame her at all. She let me test again to see what we could learn at that point. So we did the screening that time. The first thing that came up was the specific type of fungus in the skin. So we started to research that type of fungus and found that particular type takes full kidney function to detox from it. So then it starts to make sense. It comes up in the order that the body can take care of it, not necessarily the order that we think it will come up in. So it's the inner self. I mean, if we listen to people, the one thing that I've learned, you always listen to a mother, because mother's intuition is uncanny, how connected they are with their kids. That's the first thing. Mothers know us better than we know ourselves. But aside from that, if we communicate with someone, we can figure out what they need. They may not be conscious of it, but their energy system is quite aware, and it's just so interconnected, I guess.
That's amazing. I remember one of the first scans I had, you told me some really random things about myself that I had no idea. He told me I was allergic to cats, and I had always had cats growing up, and I didn't realize it. And he also told me that at one point in my life I had broken my tailbone. Again, didn't know that. But he actually helped me feel better. And I remember at that time, it was right after I had Isaiah, and I was so fatigued, and I had gone and got my thyroid tested, and they're like, oh yeah, you're normal. Everything's normal. Your hormones, all these symptoms you're having aren't hormone related. They're not this and this and this. And I went to Destin, and he said, yeah, your thyroid is not functioning at all. And he explained the reason behind it and why the testing showed that it was a traditional doctor's office, and he helped treat it. And I did feel better. It wasn't instant, but it did help me feel better in the long run. This last year, I've been on this grief journey and handling a lot of trauma, PTSD, and all of it kind of compounds. And I'm really shocked at some of the things that my body and mind are doing that I had no idea could happen. Can you guys, when you do those scans, can you see anything related to, are there markers for, okay, this is trauma, this is grief, this is, you know what I mean? Is there ways for you guys to pinpoint if the body's holding on to trauma, or if trauma is making the body sick? Or does that make any sense from a medical standpoint?
It absolutely does. And something that I think of, I mean, there's indications. It's not like a specific thing that comes up as grief trauma. But what I found with chronic illness, when you start to talk to these people and communicate with them, when did you start to feel sick? And if they start to think back, it's usually around the time of some form of trauma, almost always. my belief system is now that there is no physical ailment without an energetic base or an emotional component to it. But most of them can go back to the death of a loved one, to a car accident, to a traumatic experience that happened to them through abuse. Like almost always there's something correlated with that. It's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. So there's indication in that testing, and you kind of have to dig, because I think as a defense mechanism, a lot of us, we protect ourselves. We try to forget those moments or the things that hurt us the most. But I find it so important to pull that out. At the same time, we cannot, like I said, get somebody physically well if they're not emotionally dealing with some of those triggers that may have started that chronic illness in the first place. You get genetic factors and different things that your body may be tolerating and dealing with. But then when you have such a traumatic event of abuse or grief or whatever it may be, those defense mechanisms are let down. And that's when we see those things surfacing and becoming a reality. But mainstream medicine, and not slamming it in any way, but I think there's a major disconnect of everything is just physical. There's no emotional component. I think we'll see truer and better healing when we connect the dots. And we have such amazing medical tools and practices, but we have to deal with the psyche and the emotion and all that goes with it. So yes, you can see it. It's not always in plain print, but if you dig a little deeper, you can see it. But what would you say?
I would go along with what Destin said. And when a scan's being ran, like had been mentioned before, it doesn't sit there and say grief, this person's dealing with a grief and stuff like that. But there are these markers. And as you have more experience with the biofeedback system and stuff like that, you start piecing together more of that puzzle. It's almost like the scan helps you cheat, I won't lie. But you sit there and you're noticing the smallest little tweaks of an individual. And I don't have to know that individual, but the scan is reading what is normal for them and not normal for me, not normal for Destin, because my number or my readings, my numbers might need to be higher than someone else's and stuff. So it's very, very specific to the individual that's getting the scan done. And as you're reading that, you can kind of put together these little pieces, and then it helps open up a different avenue that a lot of times when people come in, they don't even realize. Brandy, like you had mentioned, like you've been watching or not watching the reactions that have been going on in your healing journey and stuff like that. And the scan kind of does that too for us. It opens up things that we might not have or traditionally may not have been noticed. And I'll also say this, if you listen to what you're being told, and you can use this from the universe, from Heavenly Father, from God, from whoever, but if you're listening, and individuals can help heal themselves, I believe through that way. I believe that we're guided down a path. And if their paths are supposed to cross with our paths, I believe that we're here to help them. And that's where my faith is. And when you're doing... when you're using the scan and you're seeing these numbers come up, and then if you feel like, you know what, I don't know why, but I want to go down this road, you usually go down the right road and you can help someone heal faster and stuff. And so I believe that, again, there's a physical body, emotional body, spiritual body. There's all of these bodies and all of these tools that we're given from each set of that person, of that being. And so my spiritual body might be able to see things other people's can't. My physical body might be able to sense something or see something or deal with something in a physical way. My emotional body might be able to pick up on someone else's emotions and stuff like that. And when you're using all of these tools that we have, and when you're using the LSA system and scan, and you're using that to help piece them together, I believe that that's when that true help and true healing comes in as well.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I can only speak for myself. I think Nathan feels the same way. There's so many physical things that could be avoided if people knew that their grief could cause some of these physical things. And if they were coached through that, not only through talk therapy, but meditation. There's so many tools out there, but it's just the awareness needs to be out there. The stigma needs to go away that everybody has mental health and everybody has mental health struggles and imbalances. And it's the connection to other individuals so you don't feel alone. We do feel strongly about it. We do. I think there would be so many more, or less, I should say, physical issues if we were dealing with things on that emotional level first in a lot of ways.
I just... I just feel like every time we do this, every time we have a guest, I always have a moment where, Nathan, kind of like you were saying, how we're kind of led to people, our paths cross for a reason. And okay, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. It's been my daughter started kindergarten on Monday, and I'm attributing all of my emotions to that. I've been a mess emotionally. I've been having a lot of health issues, and normally my health issues stem from my mental health. But within the last 2 years, I've really struggled with my health, and it's something that's kind of made me feel defeated. And I actually just went to the doctor today, and I take a bunch of medications, and he said, if we can't figure out the problem that I'm having right now, then I'll probably have to add on another medication. And I just remember feeling so, just like, it's so disheartening, because I'm like one more medication that I have to rely on, just to be normal, just to function. And so before this call, I had been talking to a friend who is very into natural, holistic resources, medication, whatever. And she had been telling me about a doctor she went to who was, really great and had a holistic approach, and this doctor's in Utah, that I should come and see the doctor. And in my head, I'm like, no freaking way. I'm not going all the way down there for a doctor. But I kept thinking, I really need something needs to change in my life, because I go to the same doctors and I feel like nothing has changed. And I'm a 30-year-old on like 7 medications, and that just doesn't seem normal or healthy to me, And so listening to you guys speak, I just was I'm very touched, because I think that it's also, I think it is like a psychological thing too, that a lot of traditional doctors ignore. And I'm sure that the last couple years of my life with my mental health has affected my health physically, and I think I sometimes discount that. But yeah, I think that what you guys do is just so commendable. And as you were speaking, I was like, holy crap.
Where do I make an appointment
right now? But really, like, I truly think that this approach is just so needed in so many people's lives. And maybe I'm just living under a rock, but I'm like, how do more people not know about you guys? It's just amazing.
You're strong, and there's nothing wrong with your approach and the way that you've done it. Everybody does the best they can with what they have, so give yourself credit. Like you're staying afloat for your family, for all of that. So never get down on yourself. But we've all learned too, like I had lupus in the past, and what got rid of that, and what really opened our mind, I would say, to the healing thing. We were into natural and functional medicine, but we were told, actually, there was a lady, just to kind of share the experience and story. She was MS, and she was blind in one eye, in a wheelchair, just not functioning well. We had tried to help her with our approaches and really didn't have much success at all. And she told me, this was years ago, probably like 19 or more years ago. She told me she'd heard about a clinic in Mexico, and she was going to go to him and give him a try, because what did she have to lose at that point? Long story short, we saw the lady probably 3-4 months after she went down, walking out of her wheelchair, could see out of her eye, like things that seem so miraculous that it's hard to believe it. Mm-hmm. So she told us about this clinic, and we became very interested in it. And so we went and took a visit down there. And I still remember, like, when they went through, they started talking about the lupus. And I hope I'm not arrogant by nature. I don't mean to be, but when they start saying like, oh, we can get rid of this, you have that doubt of what you've learned. Like, you don't get rid of lupus. Like, it's something that you always have. I can remember questioning him, the doctor, like, how do you get rid of lupus? And he just said, like, just so humbly, he's like, I stand corrected. I can't get rid of lupus, but your body and God can. Like, I can provide some tools, and you will get over this, kind of thing. And they had the approach that we've tried to lean towards, where it was all embodying. When you go down there, they work on you not only physically, but emotionally, mentally. Like, you're getting massage. They're doing all sorts of therapies that at the time I didn't even completely understand, along with the physical. And long story short, I mean, 3 months after that time, my life had changed so much as far as as my physical health because of that, but it just opened our eyes to things you don't know until you know. So you can't be hard on yourself. I think everybody's doing the best that they can do with the tools that they have. And there's so many good providers in so many different ways. But I think it kind of, the core of it comes together is we really should be unified as a medical community, as everybody, just to use every tool that's been given to help people, because everybody's just trying to do their best. They're trying to stay afloat for themselves, for their family. But there's just so much more healing and unity in numbers. If we could all come together and get the ego out of it and just, what can we do for this individual? And I don't mean to rattle on, but some of the best experiences that we had were during those clinic weeks, because what we would do is we would take these people, there'd be like 14 at a time or something that would come for that week. And we would have these meetings, every provider that was in the clinic. So we'd have these forums after the day was over. We would sit down and we would put one person's name on the table, and every single provider would go around and express their concerns, their understanding, their knowledge that they had for the sole purpose. Like, we started these with prayer. How can we help this specific individual? And the miracles we saw from that, because sometimes it was the front office ladies that they would tell specific things that they didn't dare tell their provider, and this all was out on the table, and we were able to be unified in creating an approach for these specific people to get well. And it was it not dynamic? Like, it was, we called it magical because there was nothing else that could explain it, but it was no individual person like, oh, great, Dr. So-and-so fixed me. It was nothing like that. It was just every single person put forth all the energy that they could think to help this individual. And we saw crazy cool things with that. Like, there's just such unity in that. But,
yeah. We had a little saying. It was, be realistic and expect miracles. And one of our clients, she was one of my clients, and I referred her to go to Clinic Week, and she did this beautiful, and Brandy, I don't know if you've seen this, or you might not have seen it, but she did this painting for us, and it's like maybe like a 5 to 6 foot by 4 foot painting, and her husband made the frame for it. And that's what it says on it. It says, be realistic, expect miracles, because that's what we saw during those weeks. It was absolutely amazing. We'd have people that came in weren't able to really walk down the hall, and by the end of the week they were walking down the hall and stuff. It was so amazing, those weeks were. But again, it was because we weren't just looking at the physical part of the person, because everyone in that community, in that group of the practitioners that were providing a service for these people, every single person came with that faith that, okay, we're going to help these people out. Now, it doesn't mean that week everyone was happy and running around and doing flips, but that was the beginning of their journey, or sometimes it was the end of their journey, as in they noticed the results that they wanted and stuff. And they were magic. It really, really was magic.
It was fun too, because like at the end of the week they would be interviewed and asked like what their favorite parts were, or because it wasn't always easy on them. They had to do some pretty hard things. What was very interesting to me is the most healing part of it was the community, the fact that they could connect to people who felt like they felt, as well as connect to people who truly cared about making them better. And so there's all these stigmas, but you'd get these big burly farmer guys who, I don't cry, I don't do anything. And they would go in for a foot zone and they would come out just sobbing, and like they'd release things that they hadn't released forever. We could talk all night, so stop us at any time. But I remember one particular lady too, she had been all over just trying to figure out how to become physically well. She had done everything that you could possibly do. And in one of those weeks, one of the specific providers working with, you'd call it emotional health or energy release, had dug something out that she had hid from the world since she was 16, and had judged herself. Not that others would have judged her, but to the point that it rotted her. She was so sick over it. And when she finally brought that to the surface and released that and saw that there wasn't judgment, it was just understanding, that was when, and she openly said for the first time, and I can't even remember how many years, she felt like she was going to make it and going to live again, because there was such a release with that. And I just think that, I don't know, I think we all, as a society, sometimes discredit our ability to help other people. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be it's that connection that really gets the healing going. And what you guys do, and we mean this, is so, it's commendable, because I think you unite people in a way you are healers. You are helping in that way that so many others can't, with your specific experiences and things that you've dealt with. When we saw you last time, I call it bravery, because it's not easy to put that in front of the public. But what that does for people, I don't know, is if you can see the ripple effect of making other people feel normal. That's healing in itself. Like, we're all on the same journey, trying to help in our own specific way with the skill set that we have. But you don't have to have a degree to do that. Like, there's just so much connection, and the movement that you guys are starting is beautiful, and we thank you for it.
Yeah,
truly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that kind of brings us to the next topic we want to talk about with the lantern. Kenzie and I talked about it a couple weeks ago on our podcast, and we've announced a couple little sneak peeks on our Instagram. But these are the guys that are putting together, them and their staff and their coworkers are putting together the event on September 27th that we had talked about. And if you guys want to share the details that you know, and then we can kind of fill in some of the gray spaces.
You bet. We can kind of tell you the why behind it, some of the specifics as far as times and tickets and all that. That's the stuff that we ourselves haven't dedicated time to. But I think one of the biggest things, and we have no credentials to talk in this space, so feel free to change anything that we say as far as if we're getting it wrong. But I don't know. Now I'm getting emotional. My kid didn't go to kindergarten yet. That starts next week, so I don't know what it is. But I don't know personally someone who has not been affected by the epidemic of suicide. Like, I don't know someone who has not. Truthfully, the problem that is, and what we find as we look into statistics, is more than 50% of those people who go through with that act have never reached out for help at all, be it stigma, be it financial reasons. They've never sought help in any way. And so I think the thought behind it all was, if there was any way that we could bring light on a subject that makes it so that the stigma gets released, but in doing that, provide other ways financially for those who may not be able to afford help to be able to have that help. But even more than that, to normalize the fact that people struggle. I was driving to, and I don't mean to make this too personal, but a few months ago, to the funeral of a friend who had committed suicide, talking with another friend in the car about how, I mean, it was a shock to everybody. But this other particular friend, he's like, I don't know how normal it is, but I myself have had feelings of unworthiness, of no worth, and I didn't know he was struggling with that. I wish I would have said something. But him saying that, it made me think, I've had those thoughts before as well. I don't know of a human being who hasn't at some time questioned their worth, but it's so, sometimes in some cultures, it's so wrong to bring up those weaknesses. And if we can create an event or many events to make it so that people realize they're not alone, just talk, connect to a community that can help. And so that was the why behind this. Other specifics? I'll stop rambling.
No, that's what I feel like some of these, with that friend who had committed suicide, I feel like that was kind of like a blinder to me. Like, I was blinded my whole life. I never really thought about it. I know people dealt with it, and Brandy, we were familiar with you, but still there was kind of like this blinder up, like, it doesn't really happen to me and stuff like that. And then when that happened, I remember me and my wife, we went down to the viewing, and these were people that I knew. These were people that it was real to me. It was more real than it had ever been and stuff. And I remember going up, and I remember giving her a hug. I'm the wife. I remember giving her a hug, and I just remember feeling like I felt broken somehow. I literally felt broken in that moment. I felt like, shoot, like, not even blaming me for what had happened. I had lost connections with them over the years and things like that. But I remember sitting there thinking, like, their kids are my kids' age. Like, that impact is going to have a huge effect on those kids and on their family. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, for whatever reason, that was the moment when this topic became more real than it had ever been to me. And I remember sitting there saying, like, something has to change. Why aren't more people talking about it and not shaming people for these thoughts? Like Destin had mentioned, there's been a point in everyone's life where they're sitting there going like, you know what? Am I worth this? Am I worth the pain that I'm feeling inside? Am I worth the loneliness that I'm feeling inside? Whatever it may be. I feel that everyone's had a moment where they've asked that question and stuff. At that time, me and Destin started talking, and Destin was saying like, I feel like there's so much more that I should be doing to help people. And he was like, we're going to get a big blow up toy and invite people to our backyard and just, anyone who wants to come and all of these things. And we started looking at it in different light and in different ways. And because it was a little bit more personal now, we kind of got our backbone, if that makes sense. You kind of have to have a backbone to stand up and talk about some things in public. And you guys know that. And again, we reached out to you because of the experiences that you guys have had. And we really, really do feel that the Just Stay cause, the Just Stay program is needed. You guys are absolutely leaders. In my opinion, you're leaders. You guys are helping so many people that you don't even know. You don't know everyone that you're touching. And the thing that I like about the message that you guys have is that each of you guys are affected in different ways. This doesn't affect everyone in the same way. Is it an internal struggle? Like, yes, I deal with this, daily. Or is it because I've gone through this? So us coming on here, we're thankful for that. But I would want to make sure everyone here knows that we're more thankful for you guys and what you guys are doing for the community. You guys are standing up because you guys have dealt with this topic firsthand. And that is courage. That is commendable. That is respectable. And you have our respect for doing that. But when it became more real to me, that's when we started thinking outside of the box and what can we do? What can our little circle do? And that's why we wanted to put on Lights on the Lake, to bring awareness to this subject, to let people know that you're not alone, and to let people know we're going to be lighting the little candles and floating them on the lake and everything. But to think about that light, the people who may not be here because of suicide, they were a light to us. And they helped our light grow, and they helped it shine brighter. But the people that are here have a story. And the light from their story, whether that be through attempts and the survivors of those attempts, whether that be through family members, whether that be through friends, however we're connected, our lights are what are here shining for other people around us. And as it was talked about earlier, the community and making those connections is life-changing. And when we say life-changing, that can be life-saving. And you guys started that for us in taking a step in this direction. And so we thank you guys for that.
For sure. So yeah, because of your movement, we wanted to join with you to do the Lights on the Lake. It will be held at Rigby Lake in Rigby. There's lots of ways that people can get involved. They can sponsor the event. They can come and buy tickets. With that comes lanterns that they can light and put on the lake and be part of this. But just to kind of reiterate, the funds that will be raised from this will go towards helping those with mental health struggles that may not be able to afford it themselves. And so this is the first of many things. Because of your movement, we have started actually a nonprofit for it, and we hope to continue to work with you and anyone else who will point towards the movement to help in this way. And there's no limit to what can be done if we all kind of unite together. So we hope this will be the kickoff for our part of it. This event, we hope to get the support that it deserves and have people really come out and connect, to celebrate those who are lost, to celebrate those who are choosing to stay, to celebrate each other, so that we can make a difference, we hope. So So yeah, the details about the event are what gets a little bit shady because others have been working on it, but you have that information to broadcast out there.
Yes, and we will really be pushing the details as it gets closer. Anybody that has questions about it can for sure reach out on our Instagram or via email. Doing okay over there?
Yeah, honestly, I just it's easy a lot of the time to feel like you're an imposter. A lot of times I'm like, oh, why the crap are we doing this? I don't know. Sometimes, I'll question if we have a day of low interaction on our social media. I'm like, great. Like, this isn't helping anyone. Why are we even doing this, And so for you guys to say that means a lot, because I didn't realize how much self-doubt would play into this whole thing. Brandy and I both kind of talked about how a lot of times we feel like we shouldn't be here, But I don't know, time and time again, I'm reminded that there's a lot of work to be done. And we are really brave. We are. I don't give myself enough credit. It is really hard to share your deepest, darkest feelings on the internet.
Nah.
And know that people are like anyone can just click on it and listen and judge you how they want to. But I'm still, as scary as it is, like I'm really grateful that we're doing it. And I'm really grateful for you guys for expressing that, because I needed to hear that. And I think it's a really important part of our journey here. So
I think too, the realm that you're in, this is just an opinion, but I kind of look at it like mothering. There's no other thing that you can do that's more ignored, honestly. Like, your kids are mean to you. It's like you have the biggest impact on humanity, but it's the most thankless job in the world. When you do something like this, it's very similar, because what I noticed, especially since we've started mental health, people don't want to write a review. They don't want to like your video, because if they do, people know they watched it and someone might think that they're struggling. Like, I think the impact that you're reaching is much further. It is like that mothering thing. You're not going to see it until it's an adult program, because people, they're not thankful in that public way, even though it's making a difference. But there still is that stigma, and that's part of the thing, like, that people, well, they can't know that I'm interested in this, because then they'll think that I struggle and then I'm not perfect. And
for
we all
sure.
play these mind games, but you are making a bigger impact than you probably know. So when we first connected to some of your stuff, I'm so old and old school that I don't even know how to use Instagram. I was going through your Facebook videos and like crying like a baby. Like, it was just, I was inviting all my friends to like it, because I know people struggle in what we do, and it's no more unique than anyone else's lives, but we get to connect with people in an intimate way where they'll open up to you. And it's private, obviously HIPAA reasons, but I'm like, I wish more of you would be real, that you struggle, because you dust yourself off and put your makeup on before you leave my office, and you go back out. Everyone thinks that you have the perfect life, and in reality, you just bore your soul to me, that I know that you also struggle. Can you please let others know, so that they can not feel like the crazy people? But at the same point, you guys are doing that. You're able to do it, and not many can do it. And they're good people. They mean well, but it's a cultural thing. Like, just chin up, don't let anyone see your struggles. But if we did, we'd realize that I don't know anyone who doesn't have those struggle things. So anyway, we do appreciate you.
We do. And one thing that, as Destin was talking, that kind of came to my mind was the stigma of people reaching out. I believe that in the area that we live, culturally, people feel that that you're looked down on, that, you don't live this perfect life and you're looked down on. And we got to break that. We have to sit there and realize that life is about struggle. No matter where you're at, what you're doing, you're going to have a struggle in life. But how are you going to pick up those pieces and move on? And that to me is one of my bigger passions behind Lights on the Lake. I want so hard. I wish so much that would be the one thing. If anyone takes away anything from us doing this event, I want you to take away 100 things. But to me, it's breaking down that stupid stigma that I might need help. I'm not perfect. all of my deep, dark emotions, all my deep, dark thoughts, I want to keep them inside of me. But that's where you're going to start hurting. And that's where that hurt keeps growing. And it is okay. It's okay. I don't care. It doesn't have to be a counselor. If you need a counselor, go see your counselors and stuff. And I support that 100%. But even being that friend that will listen and then helping direct someone to help if they need it and stuff like that. But breaking down the stigma that I have to be perfect. If you look at perfection, the word perfection, the Greek words and all of this stuff, I don't remember them right off the top of my head. But the root of perfection means enduring to the end. That's what it means. And people look at perfection and they think flawless because that's what we've deemed it. Perfection is not flawless. Perfection is going through those trials and rising above it. It's not giving up. And that's what I want people to know. Life isn't about being flawless. Life is about enduring. Life is about overcoming those obstacles. And with that said, people have different choices and they can make whatever choice they want. And that's part of life too. And maybe sometimes those people that might end their life a little bit sooner, that does not mean that they haven't been perfect. I don't know their situation. I don't know their mental health. I don't know where their serotonin and dopamine levels at. I don't know any of that stuff. And it's not me to judge that at all. But it's the stigma of having to be perfect needs to come down with what perfection actually means.
I think we need to get rid of the whole life's a test thing because really it's an institution and there's not failure. Like we're so hard on ourselves, but in reality, what did you learn? Like really, isn't that the purpose here? What did you learn? And I think that we're so caught up in failure. I didn't do perfect today. I screamed at my kid. I this, I that. Like in reality, like what did you learn and what did you help someone else learn? And I think it just some mindsets need to change. You know, life can be beautiful. Like if we focus on that, ugly things can be made beautiful. And we really believe that. Anyway, we're rambling and I'm sorry that we keep going on.
Great. No, that was amazing. I think we needed to hear a lot of what you guys had to say today. And so if you touched us, I know there's hundreds of other people that will hear this, that it will also touch. I keep thinking as we're talking, you know, when we talked about doing something, mental health is such a huge problem. And we're two people. How do two people make a dent in this problem? And I just, in my mind, the whole time we've recorded, I just keep hearing many hands make light work. And it's the ripple effect, Destin, that you talked about. It's not our job to fix this problem, but we can create that ripple that will affect people that will then continue to pass that forward. And mental health is heavy, depression is heavy, anxiety is heavy, and you don't have to carry it alone. And like I said, we'll be putting a lot more information out for people that are interested in this event, going to a great cause, helping people to afford the help that don't have the resources to do so themselves. And Destin and Nathan, I just want to say it was an honor to have you on here. And you've always been special. We've kept in touch a little throughout the years, but you've always had a special place in my heart. And I appreciate everything you're doing. We're really excited to work more with you guys in this arena.
You have more of an effect than you know. Just know that you do.
Thank you. And to our listeners, again, thank you for being here another week with us. You mean more to us than you know. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya.